Alright, welcome back to another fly tying tutorial. Today we're going to be tying an articulated streamer. So this is a really great spring trout fly, summer bass fly, any kind of bigger fish. This is a great fly for that. So let's get started. We'll get our thread on the hook here. Get a nice thread base. Alright, once we have a good thread base like that, the first material we're going to put on here is some olive marabou. I like these kind of airy, I guess you could call it, blood strands. So I'm going to use this for the tail. And I will go just slightly more than the hook itself. And then just kind of wrap over the top of it up to the front of the hook. And you can go ahead and snip that off. And then we'll just go in there and lock it in real tight so it doesn't spin or slide off if a fish nips the tail. Alright, now that we have our marabou in place, I'll just throw in a little crystal flash on the tail too. I'll take two strands of crystal flash, tie it in just like this. Get about 3 wraps going forward and then fold it over the top. And then you can do about 3 more wraps going back, and that way it'll get it nice and straight back, and then you can snip it even with the other side. Alright, then we are going to tie in a piece of copper wire, and this is going to hold our schlop in. There's kind of more reinforcement. So then we'll get our copper wire set in there, and then we'll take a piece of schlop in and we'll just, work the little individual feathers back, little strands back, and then we're going to lay it on top of the hook here, and then just lock it in. And then our last piece for the fly is some olive sparkle chenille, and we'll just kind of pinch the little fuzzies in off, and then just tie it from the base, get it locked in. Now we're going to work our thread up to the front of the hook. And now we'll just wrap the chenille and create the body of the fly. Once we get up to the front there, we'll just get a couple wraps over the top, get it locked in there. Snip off the extra. Make sure it's nice and locked in there. And now we are going to do the same thing with the schlop in. Same direction, just kind of palmer it forward, kind of like you would a woolly bugger. Try and work the feathers back so they're not all sticking underneath. And once you make it up to the head, we'll just go ahead and tie that off too. And then just snip off the extras. Make sure you got it locked in there. And now we are going to take the copper wire, and this is just basically reinforcement for that schlappen, and we're just going to wrap it the opposite way. Try and weave it through all the little fibers. And then once you get up to the front, we'll just tie it off. And then we can just go ahead and spin that off. And the back half of the fly is basically done. Okay, so then we can just go ahead and get a few little whip finishes on this. Like so. Then I will go ahead and put in a little drop of glue on the knot here, just to really lock things in. And now it's time to start the front half of the fly. So we're just going to get started by starting our thread about 1/8 of an inch behind the eye, just to leave a little bit of room. And then that's where we're going to put our dumbbell eyes. We'll kind of invert the hook here and put our dumbbell eyes on the bottom side. Alright, so we'll just get this dumbbell eye locked in with a few crisscross wraps. And then go under it a couple times. Just really get it locked in there. And then I'll just put a little touch of super glue on there for reinforcement. A couple more wraps over the top. And that should be good, nice and locked in there. So now we are going to attach the trailer hook, and we're going to use a piece of intruder wire. I like using this, have a nice stiff wire instead of, you know, backing or something in that nature. Allows the rear hook to kind of move around freely. So we'll go ahead, put that wire on there, and then I'm going to use a glass bead to separate. And then back through the bead. So then you get a nice loop like this. So then you get a nice loop like that. Kind of pull it to where you see fit, just tiny little loop sticking up, and then just go ahead and start wrapping this forward. wrap up to behind the eyes there. Take a crappy pair of scissors or if, you know, some wire cutters and just cut it just almost the length of the hook, and then just take this little end piece and we're gonna fold it over, smush it down, and then these wires will never slip out on a big fish. So we got that nice and locked in there. Work our thread back. Okay, so now that we have our thread back just above the hook point basically, we are going to take another piece of marabou and we are just going to put it right here to kind of cover the bead. Just kind of right on top. Then we'll get a few more wraps forward. Trimming off right behind the dumbbell eyes. And then just go ahead and lock it down real nice. Okay, so now that we have this piece of marabou locked in there, we're going to go ahead and kind of repeat the process like the back half of the fly. So marabou, we're not going to do crystal flash in the middle, we're going to skip that. So then we're going to take another piece of copper wire, and we'll tie that in, and that's going to lock in our schlop in for durability. And then we'll take in our schlop in, work the little fibers back, lay it in on top. Get that nice and locked in. And then olive sparkle chenille. Alright, so now we'll just wrap the chenille forward just like we did on the back half of the fly. Go ahead and lock that in there. And then we can go ahead and take our schlop in. We'll palmer that forward, same direction as the chenille. Get that tied in. Cut the excess off. Then we'll go ahead and counter wrap with the wire, and this is going to help strengthen that schlop in because that does break pretty easy. And we want this as durable as possible because it does catch a lot of fish. So we'll just get this wrapped forward. Get a few wraps over it. You can take a old pair of scissors or you can spin it off. I'm just going to clip it off. And now we are going to add some rubber legs, kind of for a little bit of movement, also a little bit of lateral line. So we'll just take 2 and it's going to go basically right behind the dumbbell eye. So I'll just turn the fly flat. Couple wraps over that. Bring it over the top. Match it on this side. And then trim them to the same length. And that's the rubber leg part. So now we're almost done. We're just going to put on a little bit of dubbing, cover up the thread over the rubber legs, a little collar for it, and then we're going to move to the front of the fly. Some olive ice dubbing. Get a nice little collar there. And then we'll add a little bit more and jump over the top of the dumbbell eyes, just to kind of cover up everything. There, now that we just have dubbing to kind of cover up our thread wraps, the rubber legs, we are going to tie in the head. Now this is the hardest part of the fly, so it's kind of nice that it's just one little segment that if you screw up you can cut it off and the rest of your fly isn't trash. So we're going to take some olive colored deer hair and we're going to spin that in. And we're going to take about maybe a pencil size worth of deer hair. Throw it in our hair stacker. So that we'll get the tips even. And then, so we don't want a whole lot of hair sticking out. So we'll do maybe another 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch this way. And then on this side we want about the same amount. So we're going to trim the deer hair and we want about 1/4 inch sticking off the front. And we'll do 1 loose wrap, 2 wraps, and then we'll spin it. Deer hair kind of spun in there. Get a few wraps and then we'll just kind of start pushing it back. Get our thread in front of it. Try not to trap any of the deer hair. It's pretty hard to do, but get a few wraps in front of it. And then we'll go ahead and just do a couple 1/2 hitches. You can whip finish too if you want, but we'll kind of just push the deer hair back. Okay, now that we have it tied off, we can go ahead and trim out anything we don't like that's sticking forward. And now you basically have like almost a Buford style head, and we're just gonna go ahead and kind of trim it back just a little bit, just at a slight angle here. Until you get it kind of a hat style head like that. It's just kind of folded back, super simple. And that is the fly. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share. Go try this fly out with your friends. Tell me what you think in the comments.